Now to an in-depth investigation into a program that is succeeding in keeping criminals from reoffending.
We asked the question, could tens of millions of dollars, your tax money, your money to begin with, be better invested for your safety and to ease overcrowding in prisons and jails? There is a program out there, but why is the state making cuts to it rather than adding funds to expand it? We investigate.
We incarcerate more people in this country than any country in the world.
Warehouse an individual safely until the court says that we need to let them back out into society.
The numbers are not kind to that philosophy, with as many as 50% of inmates released going right back to prison.
When we get to the point where we say, okay, we can't spend any more on prisons, then it forces us to start looking maybe at something that can be very positive, and I think we're on it right here.
Enter the Department of Community Correction, or DCC, home to more than 2,000 men and women across the state.
In the DCC, the philosophy is entirely different. It's called Modified Therapeutic Community, and it's one of the most successful programs that I'm aware of in the country.
It's a fairly new concept in corrections nationwide, and we're proud to say I think Arkansas is probably on the cutting edge of that.
DCC began in the mid-1990s, recognizing a person sent to prison or jail without an intense effort to rehabilitate will, after release, due to overcrowding or otherwise, blend in among us. But the chances are there that his old ways will reappear, and he'll head down that one-way street, the only life he knows, and it's a dead end. And this time, he is more dangerous and determined to stay out of prison.
They come out a little bit more hardened, a little bit more callous. We've not done anything to create any new community for them to go be a part of. And they'll return to the old community that they were getting in trouble with.
DCC uses the Modified Therapeutic Community. Randy Parker is at the tip of the spear at the Little Rock unit.
A self-help, peer-supported mock society.
DCC is a very structured environment, and that's the genius of it. A lot of these guys who are committing these crimes don't live in any structure, haven't had any responsibility, and now they're required to really apply themselves in a community and learn how to live alongside someone else, take responsibility for their actions.
We don't just focus on substance abuse. We focus on the thought process, their behavior patterns, cognitive interventions, and try to deal with the whole person.
And the numbers support this philosophy. On average, 26% of its inmates come back, 74% don't. It's an intense sentence, 9 months to 2 years, and it's a whole lot more than doing time, more than a 12-step program.
We decided to use that time in a little better way.
It's too tough for some, and they quickly look for the easier way out, prison.
It's not uncommon that we'll have someone come in and say, I'd rather go to prison. We make them look at things that they don't want to look at.
Many men and women now entering our prison systems have not been taught life skills. They don't have certain skills on the way to live, and therefore if they were to get mad at their employer, they would react in a very poor way. It might be violent, it'd probably be a lot of yelling, and then they'd walk off and quit. If they're told no, none of us like to be told no, but they would react in a way that maybe you or I would not react. In the DCC, they have an opportunity not only to be taught those things, but then to work it out together as a community.
What they do is each one has
This is the Modified Therapeutic Community. Each inmate has a place in it.
Structures and hierarchies within the community of the residents that mimic situations they may run into out in the world.
They are responsible for various jobs to other inmates and other inmates to them.
After they've been here 90 days, then they're usually more receptive. They start seeing a change in themselves. The family starts seeing it when visitation. They start seeing a payoff for them.
Their thinking is not right, and they're definitely not thinking about their morals. They're not moral men. But after a little while of working the system,
it clicks, a course correction. DCC also digs up the very foundation of why they're here.
80% of our convictions in the state are addiction driven or drug or alcohol related.
Maybe a drug addiction now, but once they get to the point where they have no employment, they're looking for resources to be able to continue their addiction, to buy the drugs, then they're going to find some way to do that. So it's either going to be stealing from family or stealing from strangers, and it could end up in a robbery.
If we're successful in properly addressing what's causing the crime, then I think we'll be building less beds and hopefully fixing more broken lives.
So now we have someone talking about fewer beds rather than building more space for more beds, and also fixing a problem rather than spending millions more of your tax dollars to attack a problem that never seems to get fixed.
With the recidivism rate at 21% in the DCC, recidivism rate at almost 50 on the DOC side, and for about the same cost per day, we need to be using more DCC beds.
Oh, adding to a program that seems to be a better investment of your tax dollars. Great idea. Serving more inmates for less time, meaning more beds and fewer people going back to prison or jail, thus easing up overcrowding at the prisons for people who should be there all the time. Now, certainly positive results financially for you. We're going to take a closer look at that side of the story. That's going to be coming up tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Interesting that a lot of criminals actually opt for prison over that program. It's so tough.
It's one of those, exactly.
But in the long run, it's well worth it.
And a lot of those people do not come back, and that's key. And then that way, if they're not coming back, well, then they're not taking up space.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.